It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this. This time I am talking about 8BitDo. That is not a product in itself, it's a company that makes a lot of classic style controllers. In particular, we're talking about the SN30 Pro and the SN30 or SF30 and SF30 Pro. That's for Super Nintendo 30 and Super Famicom 30. Essentially, these are 30th anniversary controllers that are made to look like the originals from the Super Nintendo. And that's what you actually get with just the regular. This one is the SF30. It's styled after a Super Famicom controller with the colored buttons. And this is, I mean, we'll go over the compatibility here in a second. This one is a SN30 Pro, where it looks like a Super Nintendo controller, but you could see it has 2 analog sticks and 4 shoulder buttons up there. Also has a home and a star button, and these are like the plus and minus on a Nintendo Switch or whatever. In addition to the start and select. So, what are these? What are they good for? So clearly they are the retro style controllers, but they are capable of supporting different things. I believe let's see, the SN30 Pro is $50. Shipping now should get to you in early February according to Amazon. And yes, the other one, the standard SN30 from 8BitDo, this is $25. So let's. I think we should start with the SN30. This is a device that, depending on what configuration you get it in, it can either work with your regular Super Nintendo, or it can work with your Super NES Classic. If you get it with the SNES Classic, or for the SNES Classic, it'll come with this dongle right here, which has basically this is the port that Nintendo used on the Wii and the Wii U. So it'll work on those devices as well. And it enables you to play your Super Nintendo games on your SNES Classic wirelessly over a 2.4 gigahertz wireless signal. And that means you don't have to worry about the relatively short cord on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. You can just go to town and start playing games. And let's see, one of these, I got 2 of these because one of them is actually for a different device. Let me make sure this is going to work. There we go, Final Fantasy 3. So yeah, and this is, I could just start playing. Which device? Sorry, I got like I said, I have 2 controllers here. There we go. Okay, so it works great. It works fine. It feels just like an SNES controller. It's just not tying down with the cable. And I think it is. I was comparing it to the Super Nintendo Classic Edition controller that comes with the system that Nintendo says is like the original controller, but it's in quotes. It is slightly different. There are some changes there. People have documented those. I think that this is at least comparable to that, and in some ways feels a little bit better. I think that the spring on the D-pad feels a little bit better. I also love that you can hit select and down on the wireless controllers to go back to the home screen like this. That is very useful. I am not sure if the wired ones can do that. You would think they could, but I'm not sure. Point is, these ones can, so you don't have to get up and hit the reset button when you're using the wireless controller to jump from one game to the other. But because these controllers are, at least the SN30, it works with all the same stuff as like no matter what configuration you get it in. So if you get the Super NES Classic Edition controller dongle, you can also get just the regular Super Nintendo dongle, which is, and I'll switch back. We'll show you. Get it unplugged here. Literally just plugs right into a Super Nintendo like that, and it gives it enough power. It actually works, runs on that power, so you don't have to get like an extra battery pack or anything like that, or have it plugged in. And you can use the wireless controller on your Super Nintendo. That means you can also use it on Analogue's upcoming Super NT, which is a hardware replica of sorts of the Super Nintendo that enables you to play Super Nintendo games in 1080p, 60 frames per second on your modern television over HDMI, without having to do any software emulation. That is actually what I have it plugged in over here on. I can't really show anything from that because that's under embargo until a later date. The point is, though, is that this $25 controller, you get a couple extra dongles, it's going to work on everything and anything that you can imagine that is, that only needs the buttons of a Super Nintendo and that has the dongles that support it. That is excellent. That's wonderful. And then you have the SN30 Pro. Now, this is slightly different. This is this is actually a really excellent controller. So it's $50 in that range, and that might seem like a lot, but it is actually a legit modern controller. And what I mean by that is it works on everything, and I do believe it actually works with a dongle of its own. Maybe not. If it does, I haven't used it. That's because it has Bluetooth built in and has other radio receivers in, and it works with Windows, Android, Mac. It works like the Steam box, and it works with Raspberry Pi as well as the Nintendo Switch. So what you have here is a controller that could just work with everything, including the Switch. And for me, I think what that means is you have maybe... I hesitate to say this, but so I think if you're getting a Switch, you may still want a Pro controller. I think Pro controller from Nintendo feels great. It's awesome, but it is a bit expensive. So maybe if you were like, okay, I want to save a little bit of money and get something that's comparable, this will work. Maybe a Pro controller is still not significant, but noticeably better. It's bigger. It's going to fit your hands maybe a little bit better if you're an adult. That's great. But this is not like some shitty knockoff thing. This feels like a pretty decent controller, one that, like, if you are having a party and you want to have some extra controllers laying around, but you don't want to buy extra Joy-Cons and you don't want to buy a bunch of extra Pro controllers, I think this is a really good alternative. And the benefit of doing that is now not only do you have an extra Switch controller, but now you could take this thing and use it on your PC and use it on your phone. And speaking of that, I think this is maybe my favorite feature. So if you see up here at the top, there are these two notches, as well as the regular USB micro input. And actually, no, that's a USB-C. That's right. This is another USB-C device because it's a Switch controller. But there's these notches along the side of it. And those notches are pretty cool because they work with this other thing that 8BitDo makes. It's called the clip, I think. And the clip just sits right here on top. And you just sort of get it into those notches. And then you bring the bottom down here, click that up. And now it's on there. And what you could do is pop the phone up into there. And now you have a portable gaming device. Now you're thinking, oh, I don't like mobile games. Well, then, neither do I. So what do I use this for? This is an Android phone. I download Moonlight, and I play those games for my PC. I play Divinity Original Sin 2. It's the one game I've been playing on here a ton. But it also supports emulators and retro games and things like that. And having a controller for that and having the screen kind of right up in your face, it's pretty well balanced, so it doesn't feel like it's going to fall out of your hands, and it's snug and secure, so this is not going to fall off the back, which is a problem with some of the other clips that I've used on game controllers. And this, the clamp here, the clamp is going to keep it nice and secure up here, so the phone's not going to fall out, and it's also not going to scratch it because it's got this nice soft material on the inside of the clamp. And it's just, so it's like this really cool and kind of compact way of playing, of turning your phone into a really cool portable gaming machine. Because these controllers aren't huge and bulky. They will fit in a bag. The only thing that really sticks out and gets caught on anything are these analog sticks. But that's the price you pay to have analog sticks. And they are full range, full size analog sticks. So worth it. That's great. So yeah, I think that the point here is that this is a controller that anyone with a Switch and anyone that also plays games on other devices might get a lot of use from. It is versatile. It'll work on so many different things that it's kind of a huge bargain at only $50 or $46, whatever I said. That's a bargain because you are going to have this controller that works with your Switch, and it works with your phone, and it works with your PC. And it's got a pretty decent battery in it with the USB-C to recharge it. And so you can just take it with you from thing to thing and just be using it as your main go-to. And it even has the instructions built right in on the back that explain how you are supposed to get it to work with each one. It says mode. For Switch, you hit the power button and Y. I think that's the start button, actually. For D input, which is like an input standard on some devices, I can't remember exactly which. It's a start and B. For X input, which is like turning it into a controller that uses the Xbox input standard. Start in X, and for Mac OS, start in A. So it's got all the modes, and it has the instructions on the back, so you don't have to be like, how the hell do I get this thing to work with this stuff? Which I've had problems with other controllers in the past. So yeah, I appreciate that actually a ton. It's worth noting, worth pointing out, because even when I did look it up, I would forget. So yeah, that's cool. I think that's going to do it, though. I mean, there's not much else to say. I do think that the thrust of the argument here is that the SN30 Pro or SF30 Pro, depending on which color scheme you go with, makes for maybe one of the better Switch secondary controllers that you can get. Because then you're not just going to have a Switch controller, you have it for so many other things. And then when it just comes to the standard SN30 or SF30, if you are playing games on your SNES Classic, if you do play games on a regular Super Nintendo, or you're considering the Analogue Super NT, or anything with the Wii or Wii U port, or the Super Nintendo controller port, anything like that, this is going to work with it, and it's going to give you the classic feel of using one of those Super Nintendo controllers as well. So, yeah, you don't miss out. Like I said, I think that's going to do it. This was a rundown of 8BitDo's recent Super Nintendo controllers. Thank you for watching. You can get more from me, Jeff Grubb, at GamesBeat.com. I'll have a write-up of these there. Check that out. I will also have some stuff coming on the Super NT very soon, so look out for that. But in the meantime, go out and check these out if you're interested. Otherwise, let me know if you have any qualms or questions or alternatives that you would consider over 8BitDo. I'd be interested to hear that in the comments. Let me know below. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I will catch you next time. Thank you. Bye.